My name is Phil Cooper. For those of you who don't know, I'm the Geospatial Global Tech BD lead for AWS. I'm really, really pleased to be joining this conference today. I'm going to talk a little bit about generative AI. Three reasons, really. Number one is I think contractually everyone's got to talk about generative AI at the moment, so it's important. Second thing is we're actually seeing a lot of really interesting experimentation, and I was watching Javier's presentation earlier, and guys at Carto and Matt Forrest at Whereabouts. A lot of people are starting to do it, but also I'm always keen to talk about the ways in which our customers are already taking advantage of it and driving forward on it. Plus, we've got a big challenge at the moment. I want you all to apply to it. So that's the kind of three things. First thing is, don't panic. What we're seeing at the moment is a lot of customers, a lot of organizations, senior management are saying, what's your AI strategy? And have you done anything with AI or geospatial intelligence and AI? And so I always go back to the one book that I can always trust, which is Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If you've never read it, go and read it because it's great homework. And I think he sort of saw something because he identified AI in his great commentary, which is don't panic. And I think that's a big part of the thing as well. Don't panic. If you don't know what to do with AI, what are the things that we're doing across all our customers and even across the industry is engaging and talking about actually how can we use artificial intelligence usefully. Ironically, AWS has been using it for over 20 years anyway. If you've ever gone on to try and buy anything on a shop, artificial intelligence has been sitting behind it. It's not new. I think what seems to be changing is the underpinning data underneath it. And I think really that's what we're witnessing at the moment is the sources of data and geospatial data are just growing so fast and so exponentially now that actually the use of not just hyperscale cloud, but also intelligence to interpret the foundational models that these data sets are feeding into is really moving on. And so whether the formatting, GeoParquet, GeoTIFFs, COG, whatever it is, the formatting is changing, it's accelerating the use, but the source of data and the feeding of those foundational models that we're working with people like Made with Clay at the moment or working with NASA and Hugging Face continues to grow. So that's great. So how does the data come in? How is it being updated? And therefore how these models are changing is just accelerating faster and faster. More satellites are being launched. There's more imagery from the likes of Maxar and Capella and ICEYE or Planet. There's so much data set coming in now. How do you put it in? The formats that we support continue to change, and that will continue to grow and accelerate. Therefore, actually building the models is getting easier and easier and easier, interpreting them with the tooling that we've got. And I'm going to flip through this a little bit, and please feel free to access this as a generic data flow. We always think about data flowing in, whether it's through IoT sensors, whether it's through Kinesis, whether it's direct connecting. The other thing as well we're seeing increasingly is a lot of unstructured data coming in. There's a lot of structured data we're very familiar with, good old raster, GeoJSON, GeoTIFFs, CloudTIFFs, etc. Also, there's a lot of unstructured data which I think we can take so much more advantage of. Just because you have maybe a social media photograph of a location, somebody will mention in a place name, Bristol, this is an example. That is a rich source of data. And the thing about location is actually it's harder to misinterpret location. I think that's really, really helpful as well. And that's what we're seeing. And then with things like SageMaker to start improving the machine learning and then building into things like Bedrock is that continues to grow and change. And once again, flowing that data from all those sources. And I'm always interested in talking about sources of data. Typically, with AWS, we have purpose-built services like Amazon Location Services or big favorite of mine, obviously, Earth on AWS. And I know Jed's on the call. Thank you, Jed. It's still going. It's still going really strong since 2015. We've got over 200 petabytes now of geospatial data. On that data set is, I think, a hugely underutilized resource, Landsat, which is over 53 years of data. If there was ever a data set begging to be used in a foundational model or a multi-model model, it's Landsat data. And actually, that's what we're seeing at the moment is customers are really taking advantage of the open data. Long may it continue, and we'll certainly do so. And then also organizing data in things like PostGIS, Aurora, or Athena. And actually, I think over 20 of our services now natively support it. So that's the AWS bit. The newer services, if you're not familiar with them, is there's Bedrock. Bedrock is our AI tooling, and we are helping all customers geospatially enable that. What do I mean? Get it to understand a query that's a geospatial query. And the more we can do that, the more we can help train it and improve it, etc. But also what's important in whether it's using Titan or even the code development or even the machine learning is the IP stays with you. Okay, and we're really focusing on that. So if you're building applications and services, then we want to help you do that. We want to make it really, really fast, get used to lots of new services and lots of new terms. And in so doing, we are witnessing really, really rapid development already with the likes of IBM and Geospatial. So if you're familiar with this, go and have a look at the amazing work that's being done at the moment with the IBM NASA Geospatial team. All that data is coming from an S3 bucket. And therefore, those models were looking at burn scars globally, or basically data analysis against the changing weather conditions, for example, is we're really seeing output. But what we've got to start thinking is what are the questions we're going to ask? Just because we built these models, what are we going to ask them? And that's some of the things that we're seeing with our customers at the moment. And actually, funnily enough, building up agents against the existing resource pool like these data things is actually pretty easy now. So we can build access to the catalog, you can create request access, and then create those projects. And increasingly, we're seeing some really innovative new test activities, and I'll go into some of those examples. And then I'm going to get to the $1 million bit at the end. So, but actually building these things is pretty fast, and we can do it on cloud. And for those of you, I'm sure, who are very familiar with cloud working services, building these things actually is quite quickly. And innovating is fast as well, and that hasn't changed. We just got a set of new tools to do it. The other thing as well, which we're definitely starting to handle now, is that what's the persona of the people asking the questions? What's the profile of those people? What are those organizations? Who is it's asking the questions, and why are they asking? The other thing I've witnessed in the past 6 months or so is, interestingly, whether it's the geointelligence world or whether it's the insurance world or whether it's the commercial world, often those questions that are being asked are actually very structured. There's a structured process that those personas go through. So in the geointelligence community, certain key questions get asked in a certain order. So ironically, it's not sort of random questions that are being thrown against geospatial projects. We're finding those personas are pretty standard, and therefore we structure those outcomes as well, opting the data sets and creating those domain agents. Right. So who's doing? I like to profile who's doing what. Made with Clay. If you've never come across them, super organization. They've already processed 13 million square kilometers of data of the entire globe, and they're building models right now on AWS, and work with embeddings. Some smaller customers I want to highlight already. As a company called Aspia Space, they have already they're producing a product called Clear Sky, where each pixel is basically is an AI prediction with a 6-month update cycle of a. And if you've ever been to the United Kingdom, getting clear imagery is pretty difficult, and they have already done that and building forward. Another one launched recently, Plastic Eye, which is using the open data to track and model plastic pollution as it flows across the ocean. And once again, just launched in the past couple of weeks, already making great strides and already delivering intelligence from the data model in the background. So the other one as well, just a quick one, Capella Space and LiveEO joining together. They're starting to pre-detect potential tree falling locations on railway lines, and they're using generative AI and AWS. So once again, these are some examples. The guys at Element 84 way ahead on this as well, counting swimming pools in America, but also single tree locations. And so we're seeing a lot of this forward. But what we want to do is we want you all to do more, and we're going to help that. So we've got a competition open at the moment. We've made $1 million of credits available for any ideas in association with the Taylor Geospatial Institute. We are strongly recommending anybody to apply to that up to the 29th of November, and we're making awards in December. So those are some ideas. Those are some approaches. I only had 10 minutes, Michelle, so I'm doing my best to keep to my time. But the challenge is basically for entities based in the US, we're going to do more in EMEA and APJ to come. And it's around what's an idea? Can we do it collaboratively? This is about collaboration. And if there's one thing about this industry I've always enjoyed is it's a very collaborative industry. We've got loads of data, we've got loads of ideas, and what we're trying to do at AWS is bring those together to give you an opportunity to test them out, try the opportunities out. And once again, you don't own the outcome. We're not going to own the outcome at all, but we want to sort of test those and go forward. So at the end of my 10 minutes, which was a lot of information, please visit the Tele Geospatial AWS Challenge. Thank you ever so much for your time, and I hope the rest of the conference goes well.